I think that at the crux of it, my inquiry all these years has been, what is the medicine? Like, what is this medicine that creates this possibility for a transformative experience? And I'm so interested in that. I'm still interested in that. And I'm still kind of in awe at what happens when you bring a group of 8 people into a community of steady presence, is what I would say. I love the image of the stones. I've often said the Callanish stones that's what I learned from the Callanish stones when I went to the island of Lewis, was this circle of, the depth of steady, as stones hold that, putting your hand on a stone, you just feel that. And I think that takes practice, and, this beautiful Healing Circles community that's just developed over the last, 6 years, this holding presence in a circle, like that sounds like, oh yeah, well, we know how to listen and we know how to, but one of the things I learned from you early, Michael, was your concept of healing conditions. What are the conditions for healing? Because really there's retreats, there's different kinds of retreats, but these are healing retreats. And we, our official name is Callanish Healing Retreat Society. So the word healing is very deliberate because it's a different kind of retreat that has healing at the center. So how I understand healing, I think all of us understand it in different ways, but that there's some sort of, Mark Nepo has a wonderful term, this incorruptible spot of grace at our core, that we're born with this, the incorruptible spot of grace at our core. So if and he believes, and I really appreciate this, is that we're deconstructing the layers of the constructed self and personality and identities on retreat. I really think there is some way that when you bring people into a steady, safe, loving environment, that we want to let go of all these constructed aspects of ourselves. I mean, we're happy to, nobody knows our last name, at the end of the retreat, oh, you have a last name or you have a profession. And so much of the retreat, we're not sharing at that level of the personality of all the things we've done with our lives. We're sharing at what I call the soul level. And what makes that soul appear? There's so many people who speak of that, but I think it takes a very specific set of conditions. And so, I think people try to do retreats and they set it up and they have their agendas and their teaching tools and they're, wonderful. So many wonderful retreats and workshops exist out there. But this is, the more I work on retreat over all these years, the more it's like back to the bare bones of, how to be present, as you spoke of Carl Rogers, but what does that really mean? I mean, it's really a powerful thing to learn. Every time we go in a circle, we learn, how do I hold steady now in this? Somebody's angry, somebody's weeping. How do I just sit still and trust that there's an opening, there's a conspiracy to heal in each of us and a longing to be whole, I really believe, right up to the moment we die and probably beyond, this desire to be ourselves, as E.E. Cummings says. And so if this practice over all these years, I mean, I think back to the early days in Circle, with my team, my wonderful team, and I, we were really kind of, I could feel my own instability in a sense, just like, how am I going to manage this? Things happen. And I think the Healing Circles community they're really deeply in this practice of learning now. How do you sit through all of it? And I think what it requires and what I've learned more, and even on this last retreat I did, I've had a bigger awareness of this, that it is not my agenda for someone to heal. I'm not saying this is what you need to do to heal. It comes from deep inside, and it starts to light up, when you're in an environment where you truly can be yourself and you can truly speak of, we say you can speak the unspeakable here. And people do, they try it on. Well, can I really speak the unspeakable? And they say something that reveals a very deep vulnerability. And lo and behold, the circle holds it and mirrors back that there's beauty in that's your life experience, that I honor it. I'll just read a quick poem just as I'm speaking. Can I read a poem that you know probably well? It's called The Healing Time, because I think what you said is we're setting deliberately, like the people who set the Callanish stones, deliberately placing the stones. It wasn't just it's not a natural wonder. It was humans in connection with the land and in connection with the sky, deliberately placing for the purpose we now understand. It was a lot of ceremony and healing happened in those places. So in our retreats, I think we're doing that. We're deliberately placing our people who've cultivated a steadiness to say, I will be with you no matter what. And so what a beautiful repair often of early life for many people, where, for reasons we understand, for pain that came through our ancestry, through our parents, grandparents, that people can't hold steady for us, who couldn't be there in the way. So the deep repair at the level of attachment, beautiful, clear, and clean attachment that happens in a circle like that. I think it is so, people say that, when they're having massage or they're having body work or they're being, touched in some way with, they say that's the original bond. Something's repairing. So it's profound if we're thinking that these repairs, and I see that, and people talk about that. So this healing time, Pesha Gertler's poem, it always touches me, this poem. I'll just read it by way of explaining a little bit more about how I feel this medicine works. The Healing Time by Pesha Gertler. Finally, on my way to yes, I bump into all the places where I said no to my life. All the untended wounds, the red and purple scars, those hieroglyphs of pain carved into my skin, my bones, those coded messages that send me down the wrong street again and again. Where I find them, the old wounds, the old misdirections, and I lift them one by one, close to my heart, and I say, holy, holy. So this poem to me is exactly what happens when there's an environment of steady, loving, safe presence, is that those messages, those coded messages, I love the hieroglyphs of pain carved into my skin. Somehow it's like they just rise to the surface, and they rise in the form of a story or a gesture or some kind of expression through art, through creativity. Somehow those messages get to surface in the world in an environment where they can be received fully.